Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Um, okay, there. Sorry, today's a little rough. Hey Angie, how are you? Today's a little rough. Um, I've been really going through a little bit of overthinking and anxiety the last 2 days. It really started with the live yesterday. Yeah, I had such a great time with the live yesterday, and then I did something I never have done before after a live, and it was Saturday, and, I'm a little bit, sleep deprived, if you will. So, um, the, so I woke up thinking I had missed my live. So my day was really mixed up yesterday, especially in the morning. Good morning, Christina. Um, and so I know that we were gonna talk about a different journaling prompt, but I'm gonna change that. So the journaling prompt um that I'm gonna talk about is overthinking and how that causes anxiety and yeah, that's been happening to me a lot. So it's starting to where I'm not sleeping through the night. When I started these lives, I slept just fine through the night. I didn't do the 2:30 wake up, check the time, or 1 o'clock in the morning, check the time, that I typically have, um, and not sleep through the night. But the last 2 days have doing the lives for some odd reason has me overthinking, and which has caused a little bit of anxiety, thinking I'm gonna miss my lives and that kind of thing. And so, hey Jody. Yes. Thank you for waking up with me, Jody. So anyway, just a little bit of that's going through and something for you to think about. When something's important to you, do you overthink it? Does it cause you not to sleep, and really how to combat that? One of the one of the ways that I tend to stop that overthinking is to do art. Um, that kind of helps the anxiety just a little bit. Um, because overthinking causes, in my opinion, I'm not a therapist, but in my opinion, overthinking causes anxiety and gets you wrapped up in your head. And so that's why I have done art for stress relief. And that's why I do my art for stress relief. And these lives, I want to do the 100-day journey for stress relief and how that's, if you will, possible and those kinds of things. But I didn't expect it to cause a little bit of over anxiety. Um, so we're going to get into art today and try to let go of those anxieties and overthinking, and just something for y'all to reflect on. What is causing your overthinking anxiety, and how can you change that for yourselves? For me, I'm just going to keep doing art. And there are going to be, you know, I'm a punctual person typically, so why am I letting a little nap after a live cause me to overthink things and anxiety, and understanding what's causing that, right? Like, what's the trigger? That is something you really need to identify. For me, I think I just want to be here for y'all. This is important to me. And so, you know what? I just need to relax and take a chill pill, right? So I just need to chillax. And that's what I'm gonna do. Um Next week will be a little different. Wednesday through Sunday, I am going to try to do a live at a different location. So we'll see how that goes. There won't be any jelly printing, but we'll be doing some collages, and we'll see how that goes. It will be definitely a roller coaster ride because I won't have all the bells and whistles that I have for my lives now. It'll be just me and my phone and a top down. You may not even see my face. So yeah, that's gonna be real fun. So let's see here. Let me look at some of these things. Your witching hour, which things can I control and which things I cannot control? Hot mess express here. Yes, Jody. Yes. Yeah. I I often have to think about the witching hour, as in what I can control and what I can't control. And that's, I think that's why I escape into my art, because I know I can control what I do there. And then someone else said, I get insomnia every Saturday, fearing that I will wake up late to make it to church on Sunday. Yeah, I guess it would be a bad form for the pastor to to sleep in on a Sunday. I could see how that, yeah, Christina, that totally makes sense, because I kind of feel like my lives like bad form for me to sleep in or miss a live, right? So if that ever happens, y'all know I've the alarm didn't go off or something, and now I'm really freaked out. So I could see that happening. And then yeah, yeah, Angie, overthinking. Yes. I definitely have done some overthinking. Yeah. So, well, let's go ahead and get started. And just give me 1 second here. Okay. Um, sorry. It's getting a little warm in this room that I'm in, so whew. Okay. So, Jody had some questions about mark making. And so before we get started today, I'm going to change your mindset on how you look at trash. Um so I'm going to show you some things I use to make mark making with. But before I do that, look at that, Christina. I found an MOPR. I did not think I had it. It's brand spanking new. It's not even been primed. See? It's blue and it's not even been primed. I did I thought maybe I had one, but I just wasn't sure, and I found it this morning. So, we'll play with that as well. All right. I got trash. So, let's talk about different mark making things. When you look at your trash, think of what you could jelly print with. Um, are those things that have texture. So, for example, this is Punchinella, right? Where they make sequins. You can buy this off of Amazon. Um, and it makes like little holes, right? So little circles. So that's that. So that's Punchinella. Now, who doesn't get Amazon packages or have cardboard around their house? That's definitely trash. So I just ripped off the first layer, and then inside is the rigets that we're gonna be messing with today. Legos. If you don't have Legos, that's okay. You're not missing out. But if you have Legos, um, we're not really a big Lego family. The kid's really not into Legos. He never has been, so he's not going to be an engineer, right? I should have. That was my first clue. I should have thought of that. But I kept trying to buy him some Legos. He dabbled in it. It was all right. The husband is more into Legos than he is. So, any case, so Legos, and then of course, you get your candy every year for Christmas or Valentine's Day. The back side of this has some texture, if you can see that. The front side does too, but in my opinion, the what's going to hit the gel plate, and that's the thing to look at about trash, is what's the biggest surface of your trash is going to hit the gel plate. So for example, this dips in too much and there's not much surface space on here, so the back side works. And sometimes, your pills, how they come in those little plastic cases, blister packs. That's what I'm trying to say. Those can make great impressions with. And then look, we got feathers, so oh, more cardboard. Now, we just talked about how it's not a big surface space, but um this won't make a big print, but it's a little different than the other one. The other one's more of a point that it comes to. This one's flat for a little bit longer of a space. So you'll get some texture, but you won't get a lot. You've already seen bubble wrap. That's always the favorite. My second favorite piece of trash is the fruit net. So we'll play with the fruit net. Um, Again, same kind of concept, but it's very close to those of you who have fabric um, lace, right? So you got your lace, and the fruit net's very similar to that. The Here's some more punchinella. One thing that if y'all do needlepoint, this needlepoint here. Um, you wouldn't have thought that that would have, you know, for texture, like I didn't think of that. When I tried it out, it was pretty cool. So, um, it was an aha moment for me. The but the needlepoint is really good. Now, all right. Tell me who doesn't have a bottle cap in their house. So I took a bunch of bottle caps and I glued them all over this board, this cardboard, to create an impression. You don't know how many times my family got on to me for collecting bottle caps. Now, what's important to know about bottle caps? Who would have thought having a big long discussion about bottle caps? But you want to make sure that they're the same size, because if you don't, the same width, like the width of them, the tallness of them, this right here, you want to make sure they're the same size. If you don't, you're not going to hit the plate just right. So anything that you gel print to make a mark with, you want to make sure that it's even across the board and has enough space. So Jody, did you have any other questions about mark making tools? These are inexpensive trash mark making tools, free. If you would like some trash, let me know. I'll be glad to send you some trash to your house. I'm joking. Um, but you will start walking around your house going, could I use that for jelly printing? Would that work for jelly printing? So that's how you have to that's how you have to look at it. So um, I actually, anything that I find that I might want to experiment with jelly printing, I actually have a drawer that I put all my quote trash quote mark making tools in for for just this occasion if I want to do some mark making. You want some trash, Jody? I'll be glad to send you some trash. Okay. All right. So, I just dropped all my trash. Well, here. One second. Okay. Let's start with the easiest one, the fruit net. Sorry. I had to pick up that trash off the floor. All right. So let's do a little bit of a warm up here. I'm going to try to hit the blues today. But before I start, this Artist Loft acrylic level 1, it's called Metallic Cobalt Blue. This is my favorite non Winsor Newton paint. The color, I like it because the it's shimmery and it just adds a little extra something to the gel print. So for example, as soon as I find it here in one of our collages. Oh, here we are. This will work. Things are falling apart. All right. This right here was a gel print that I die cut it out, but you see how it's shimmery? That's this paint right here. I use this all the time. Christina, you can also get Punchinella off of Amazon if you wanted to, besides Etsy. So just letting you know there's options. Um, so there's different options there. All right, I'm gonna try to hit the blues today. Um, I was hoping for bigger tubes, but I don't know where I put them. So here we are. Just one second. I'm just digging out all my tubes of paint. Oh, a little clumsy today. Now, the paints I've been using, no one's asked this question, but the paints I've been using are acrylic. I haven't used oil paints on my gel plate. Not because I don't think that they would work or anything. It's just that I haven't tried them. I don't know how they would react. Oil paints tend to be a little bit more expensive as well. So those are some things to think about. Allergies are kicking in again. I can feel it. All right. Put those over there. Yes, temper paint. I haven't tried that, Jody. No, I don't. Oil paints in general, because I used to be an oil paint artist. Um, I don't paint that same way anymore, but not because I can't. It's just that I am just not. My art has just grown over time. Um, but okay, this is transparent. This is total transparent paint. Ooh. Okay, so let's try to find a opaque paint to go with it. There we go. I don't think that they will dry. Is what I was trying to say. Sorry, I got squirrels kind of bit me in the butt there. Oil paints, they take a long time to dry. With this being a gel plate, I'm not sure how that would work. And also the time of drying would take a little longer, in my opinion, because you have all that oil that you're going to have to mess with. So that's, I don't think that they would dry the same way as acrylics because they don't normally anyway. But you could always try it. Usually when you do oil painting, you add linseed oil to your oil paints to get it to extend a little longer. And sometimes oil paintings take years to dry. So sure, could you experiment with it? Yes. Would it turn out okay? I don't know. I don't know how that would work. Missing my papers. All right, I'm just adding a base layer. You don't always have to add a base layer. I just prefer it, and I'm planning to use what we what we make in the collages next week. So that's why I'm adding base layers. Jody, if you're not with jelly printing, I would advise you. Oh wait, you do have 2 gel plates. Yes. So when you gel print, and you don't have the patience to wait for something to dry, you can always start the second one, the second gel press. So all right. So we got this one. Now let's add some let's add a color similar to this. Let's add a green. So what we're going to do is take this green and then we're going to use our and this is a semi-transparent paint. And we're going to put it on top of this green over here. And see how that turns out. Being semi-transparent. I'll take this fruit net. And then we're going to add the paper on top of it. I don't have a lot of paint on my plate, so this should be more of a light print. So we'll see how this turns out. Okay. So I didn't have a lot of paint on my plate. So to hold this down plus putting the paper down was a little difficult. So you have to just keep rubbing. Now, if you want the whole page to have more of a print on it from the fruit net, then I would suggest put just a little bit more paint on your plate, or you could go in for a second rub like I did. So that's what I did there. Okay. And then, of course, you have like your a secondary print here. So what I would do in this case is I would probably go in with a different color. Let's try this purple. I'm going to go in with a lighter color in between this green. I might change my mind here. Hold on. I don't think I'm going to do purple. 1 second. Is this opaque? Let me see. That would be a better choice. Okay. This is where I'm going to put my other gel plate to use here as like a palette. I want to add a little bit of this opaque green olive. I'm looking for tone on tones for these gel prints. That's why you don't see some wild colors, because I'm looking for tone on tone right now. And I got a lot of paint over here, so we'll be using these colors over and over. We'll see how this, these colors are very similar, so we'll see how this shows up. It may not. I don't know. We'll see how this works. Sorry, I'm concentrating. Oh, okay. Oh, you stuck. There you go. Got you. So that's that print there. So I knew that the color that we put on was darker, right? So I went with a lighter color to pull it up so that you could see it. Okay. So that's the fruit net. And as you can see, I really like the textures that it creates. And it's a free tool. And you can also use it, in certain places. Like we could probably go back with something else on this one. So let's see what kind. I don't have much paint left on my over here that I mixed up. Yeah, I don't have much, but that's okay. We'll just add it. This will just be additional textures. Let's add some of this blue to it. And this is where you take your trash and you're just going to layer it to make different layers on your print. Now, if it's not a stencil and it's not an overall pattern, I typically will just do pieces and parts of my print. So let's take this punchinella. And then I'll just go in. You don't have to put the whole thing down. And you can just rub in certain places. And then you can get some more color on there, right? So. And that's pretty much the different. Now, I'm using these in collages. So it's okay if it's not uniformed across the whole thing. I'm not creating a piece of artwork for a jelly print. I'm going to be cutting these up. So if you don't like an area, that's okay. I mean, this is a forgiving kind of printmaking, right? Now I'm going to add I'm going to take the cardboard and I'm just going to press into the paint. It's still a little on the wet side. Okay. And then we also have the Legos. So you can go back in on top. Okay. We'll just let that dry. I do not wash off my trash. It has what it has on it. So, okay. So we'll just let that dry for a minute. I'm going to roll off my brayer here. Okay. So move this to the side. This is one way to clean your brayer is by having a second gel plate, because what happens is paint builds up on this over time and then you're going to have to just pull a print. So think of it as like your roll off paper. And this is pretty dry already because there wasn't a lot of paint on it. So Jody, that's something to think about, is the amount of paint you put on your plate. That will determine how much, that will determine how long it takes to dry. Dollar Tree has a great place to pick up cheap Lego pieces. Yep. That totally will work, Christina. Okay, can you see that a little bit? Let me push it up some. Okay, just making sure you can see that. All right, so what we're going to do here is What is this one? This is transparent paint. Okay. Let's see if we can pick this up. It's supposed to be a transparent paint, but I'm having a feeling that this design is not going to show, but we're going to try. All right. What, Christina or Jody, I know you're just starting. I'm not sure who else is watching, but what are some of your favorite tools, trash tools, as I call them, that you've jelly printed with? Put those in the comments. I'm curious. I have a couple onion bags. Yes, yes, that will definitely work. Another thing, Jody, to try out is try an onion. Cut an onion in half or an orange in half and jelly print with that. Now, I haven't done fruit yet, but there are those people who have done fruit and they make interesting prints. Now, I'll just say this, the price of food, you might not want to do that. I got it, and that's okay. But just something to experiment with. So the way I look for mark making tools in my house um is whatever texture, and it's got a, it will make a print, if it makes sense, for lack of a better word. um and the print on it is uniformed. Different. You are wanting to come on. Yeah, I didn't think this was going to turn out. It's okay, it's subtle. It is definitely subtle. Okay, this is a real subtle print. If you wanted it to be more the blues don't really, okay. If you like it, then it worked. If you don't like it and you want to add more texture to it, then at this point, what you can do is you could go with a darker color on top. So you can make some marks of a darker color. So let's go do that. So you haven't tried any trash really. Bubble wrap. Last night I loved it for prints from them. I have some coil scraps for making notebooks. I want to try them. I'm looking at that as a junk journal page. Add some stamping or more mark making. Yep, that's exactly right. So you can always go with a darker color. It could be subtle, like these two, right? Are subtle. Or it could be very contrasty, right? The background, the lighter blue is this color here. So you could go more contrasty, which I probably won't, or you can go more subtle. I'm going to try this one to make some more marks on this one. Now, if you don't think that that is going to be quite enough contrast, you could always go in, obviously, with your darker color and add just a tinge of dark blue to it, because I'm just trying to stay with the blue family. And that will just make it a little bit darker. So if you use this, like this kind, you'll see a lot of this in your packaging. It doesn't make a big, so there you go. Doesn't make a big notice change, but then you can always go in after you've made that. Now, this dark blue is going to cover up some of these spots on here. It's the white, the clear that you see that you're going to see this paper. So I just want you to think about that when you're jelly printing. So in this case, I'm going to take some of this bubble wrap on top of it as well, just to give it a little bit more white space that shows through. And then I'm just going to, what I call dipping it. I'm just going to dip my paper in some spaces. So you see how that looks? Okay. So you just dip it in some places like that to give it more interest. And you're still seeing some of the other mark making through it. And again, I'm just going to be cutting these up, so it doesn't really matter what's on how the page looks as a whole, because I know I'm going to be cutting these up in smaller pieces. Okay. I answered all y'all's questions. Got quite a bit of paint on here today. Oh, yes, Sherry, you just went overboard on the paint. It's too easy to mix the paint on the plate, so I misjudged that paint. Get too much paint on your plate, you can always roll it off and you can put it on the other plate. And that's how. Now, if you get way too much paint, well, then you're just going to have to go in twice on your, with your prints. Okay. So I just picked up what was left on the plate. And this one's a little bit wet. Okay. Any other items you want to see? Do you want to see the feathers? What other trash do you want to see that I pulled out? You want to see the bottle caps? Let's see what that looks like. Let's go with a lighter blue. Thanks, Jody. Oh, I need some more white. I just don't know where I put it. I want to get one of those paint tube rollers so I can squeeze more paint out of there. Let's stir it. So we pulled up some other paint from the plate as well. You could see it wasn't very mixed very well, even though it may have looked on our side that was mixed very well. But remember what I said is that whatever's on the bottom of the plate that goes on first is what shows up. So you could see that you had some green and some white that didn't get mixed in very well. And then let's go with a pretty light blue. So I'm going to use this, and we're going to use a little bit of that dark. So Jody, was this the was this the mark making that you were thinking of, Jody, or were you thinking of something else? Well, Christina, I think they're kind of waiting on you, right? You're kind of important to them. So you might have to give them some words of wisdom there. Okay, so we have some. So let's just turn it the other way. Who else is it just Christine and Jody that are watching? Angie, are you still there? Did you have any questions, Angie? Okay, so there we go. That is that piece. Now remember, what's going to show is anything that is blue. So like you're going to have a giant spot right there and there, right? So what you could do is if you didn't like that, where did my paper go? I just lost my paper. Oh, it fell. Well, where did that blue paper go? Nice. That's exciting. Okay. That's real fun. All right. I lost my base paper. It fell somewhere. Don't know where it went. It just disappeared on me. All right. Let's pull up some of this that's on this side. So it just pulled up that spot because that's where I was. And let's, what I was going to show you was, though, you can use you can use another texture to pull up some paint if you want it to break up some of that big blue spot. And since I can't find my base layer because it went somewhere, I guess it said I'm out of here. It wasn't interested in playing along with me. What I'll do is I will put another color on this. This is a little dry now, so it's about ready to pull another print. Yeah, it's just not making the marks it needs to make. Okay. Love it. I love it when I have to pivot. It always puts you in an uncomfortable position, but here we go. So I'm going to go with well, that's too close. Where is, want to go with a different color. Let's just go with this green. Maybe it was for the best. See how it goes. Plastic combs, especially ones with various tooth sizes, are fun for the plate. Yep, most definitely. I had one last night. Also didn't get to it. Okay. Yep. I think I have. I'd have to find it. I don't use plastic combs a lot. But I do have one. I would just have to find it, and that would take a minute. But I do want to try that big giant Posca pin. So maybe that'll be our next pull. All right, here we go. A little darker. You're not seeing it, but there's like a darker contrast. The light that's shining down is kind of washing it out a little bit, but there's definitely a darker contrast to it. So those are bottle caps and some lace. It would have been a different look if I could find that blue piece of paper, but it disappeared. It said, I'm out of here. All right. One thing I want to try is the big giant pasta marker. Let's do that. So I'm going to go ahead and prime it. Oh, that was easy. Done. Wow. Okay. That really, this is brand new. I just dipped it once and it was like primed. This is where you could write, letter, you can write on it if you wanted to. So, um, you can make some letters on there. I didn't know what to write, so I wrote that. But as you can see, it beads up. Now, with it being so wet, I could easily roll this out. What is interesting, check this out. This goes back to what I was saying, how the viscosity of the paint. See how all of a sudden, you saw me roll it out. You see how it's all breaking up? It did leave the letters that I wrote on it. But this is an interesting texture in itself. If you were to leave this alone, it will dry like this, and then you could go back with a lighter blue and you could see like snowflake effect. Or a white, you would see more of a snowflake effect. But this one, with that wet Posca MOPR, I guess it's a really big Posca marker. I don't know what it's called, but it's like, oh, shake before use. Well, I didn't do that, but it's really thin paint. That would have to take a while to dry. I want to find that blue piece of paper. Wow. I found it. So let's not wait for it to dry. I found the blue piece of paper. Let's just go on top of it and see what happens. Okay. So as you see, it made a very interesting effect on it. I call them snowflakes because that's what they look like, the little snowflakes. And then, of course, you have a little bit of leftover, so that's going to be a great pull as well. So for our dismount piece, let's just go ahead and we're going to pull this guy over here. But before I do that, I want to do one more print. It's a mopper. Thank you. Yes, and it feels like a mopper too. That's what that was about. Thank you, Christina. You can slam it on paper and it's a great splat. Yeah, that's new to me. I'll have to play with that a little bit more. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites to jelly print with, but here, it is what it is at that point. I think I like the fact that I can write with it. Oh, is there going to be more white come out of here? Okay. A little bit more white. That's just going to be too contrasty. I mean, not enough contrast. Money new white. There, it pulled up the rest of the pasta marker. There, it pulled up some other blue paint that was on the plate as well that I didn't go over. So there you go there. We'll let that dry. We're going to put this guy to the side and we're going to clean this one up. Well, you don't have to. You could leave it like that. But I'm curious to see what the layers are. They're mostly blues and greens. So I'm just curious of what what the layers are on this one. And for this, I'm just going to use regular copy paper. That'll work. And let's just go with a green all over it and see what happens. This is an 8x10 plate here. Oh, not enough paint. I can feel it. It's not going to be a big pool. Okay, now I really put paint on there that time. Oh. Yep. It's got to get down to all those layers to make that pool. So we'll see. It might just have to be like... All right, this one's going to sit for a minute before we pull it. So do you have any questions that I may be able to answer for you? And Jody, did you have any other just ideas of things that wouldn't hurt my plate? I was trying to think of things like a comb, rating marks, nut and bolt and bin and notebook coils. Yes, anything. Okay. When you're jelly printing with paper and it's starting to wrinkle up on the back end, that just says that you have a lot of paint there, and you could find yourself in a situation, if it doesn't sit for a little bit, where it will pull from, you'll tear your paper. So you just kind of want to let it sit. It's a little wet. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what's happening. Okay. So we got to let this sit for a minute. It's still really wet and cool to the touch, and it's wrinkly. So we just want to give it a little bit more time. While we're doing that, some of the paint's not coming off, but that's okay. What is coming off is some of the writing that was on this page, because it was I guess a laser print. And so it's resisting the paint. Okay. So that's what it looks like. There's several layers of paint on here. So you got to have enough paint on the plate when you do this kind of a pull in order to pull up all the layers. And remember what I said was the very first thing that we put on here was the first layer of paint. There's some leftover paint, obviously, because I didn't use any orange today. That was on the plate. So that's that last print there. All right. So I need a sorting session to categorize my prints. So I have a video on that, Jody. Oh, let me switch camera here. So I have a video on that, and you can go. I could drop that in the description below if you're interested in that. Like, you got too many jelly prints, how you're going to sort them, and how to think about sorting them. So if you're interested in that video, go check that out. And oh, you have watched it. Okay, great. And then Christina, did you have any other questions? Or Jody? Or Angie, if you're still with me? Okay. Well, you'd love to watch that, Christina? Okay. I'll drop that in the description right after this live, so that you can go check that item out. And then there's also a video on stencils and how I went back through and sorted my stencils with a declutter coach. And I asked her a lot of questions. She's mostly on camera, but I was asking a lot of questions on how to think about decluttering my stencils. So that was an interesting collaboration that I did there. And so tomorrow I will be going back to collages, and will be starting that one collage that I need to get through, that I needed to start it a week ago. So definitely look for that. Now that's going to be a real easy collage for me. It's going to be just jelly print, and then at the end of the 100 days, it will turn into something. So I'm going to keep you guessing on what that is. And then we'll do the more embellished jelly prints that we started last week with tissue paper, that kind of thing. Don't forget don't forget that March 29th, um, if you want to join my Q&A live call, go ahead and join my community. That's the only way you're going to get on that monthly Q&A call. So the link below is in the description. So thank you, Jody, for joining. And Christina, thank you for being part of my community. I really appreciate that. There's a lot of journaling prompts. Feel free to create stuff and share it on the community. I would love to see what you create with your gel prints, or if you're doing collaging, or if you're not even doing any of that and you're just creating art. I would love to see your artwork there. So it is definitely an exclusive community. You have to be approved to join. And so don't feel like other people are going to, see your thoughts or your words. This is a place for artists to be together. And on that overthinking and anxiety, go make some art, get out of your head. Everything's going to be okay. And so um try to find that balance for yourself today. I know I am, because I got to make some more jelly prints, but for my collage that's coming up. So I'm pretty excited. But see you tomorrow, and you have a great day. Thank you for watching.